Dear learner, welcome again. I am Dr. Vishal Kumar Lahiri, an assistant professor at Institute of Management Studies, Banaras Hindu University. Together, we are learning the course titled Principles of Management, and so far we have completed week 9, and in the week 10 or the part 10, we will be thoroughly understanding a very important concept, that is controlling. And we will be starting with the very first part of the part 10, that is lecture 46, and we will be discussing in lecture 46 the concept about the controlling, the nature and the element of the controlling processes. Before we start this controlling process, let me guide you about the concept about the controlling. What we have seen so far, that in an organization the situations are very dynamic. Okay, like we have seen in the leadership or your communication thing or your characteristics of the management, that the manager has to be very adaptive towards the changed situation. We have seen the situational leadership theory. What it called, that a manager has to adapt based on the changes in the external factor. So what is more important, that the planned activity is okay, like you plan for any kind of project and like define the different activities to be performed in the future, that is the planning. But at the same time, you are not very certain about how the project or the activity will go on in the future because of the internal as well as the external factor. To some extent you can control the internal factor, but there is no control over your external factors. And what are the contributors or the factors in the external environment? It may be your political factor, social factor, economical factor, technological factor, legal aspects, and there are so many other environment which can change your plan overnight. So what the government or what the company should be doing? The company should be like prepare themselves for any kind of external impact towards your business plan. Okay, this is what we call as your controlling mechanism. Okay, how you like neutralize or minimize your impact of external or the internal environment towards your planned activity is your controlling process. In an organization, it may be like there are different activities which are going on. You are just near to reach out your objective. But at the same time, in the last moment, you will see that any kind of decision being taken by the government, any change in the international situation like war or any kind of recession will impact your business as well. So what as a manager you will be doing? You will be like adapting your situation or taking a controlling measures. Okay, so this is what we call as a planning activity. So this is a part of the external environment. What about the internal environment? Internal environment means your employees, your policies, your mission or the objectives. These things can be controlled. So what you will be doing? You will be setting the standards for the employees. We have learned about the in the principles of the management, Fayol principles of the management and the Taylor principles of management, that everything should be done scientifically. It should not be based on some like intuition or any thumb rule. Okay, it should be based on certain rules or cause and effect relationship, so that the chances of deviation should be minimum. Still we cannot avoid the deviation, but we can have a control over it. Okay, so these things will be understanding in the managerial control. Now try to understand about the definition given by the prominent managerial thinkers. Kuntz and Ordinal defined managerial control implies the measurement of accomplishment against a standard. So, whose performance you are going to measure? It is the departments, it is the individual employees, it is the organizations whose performance you will be measuring. And against what? Against predetermined standards. Okay. And the correction of deviation to assure attainment of objective according to the planned one. So, before the activity starts, you plan the activity, you set the standards, you measure the performance, and then you correct any kind of deviation, corrective action. So, this is the output of this particular definition, Kuntz and Ordinal. The second element or the second definition talks about the management control is the process by which managers ensures that resources are obtained and used effectively. As we know that resources are very scarce in the organization. What are the resources? We have discussed in the very first session: man, money, material, okay, your entrepreneurs, technology, these are your resources. So, if the activities are not planned or the activities are not standardized, it may be that you are not judiciously using your resources. Alright, so controlling is what? A process by which the manager uses the resources and obtained and use effectively and efficiently in the accomplishment of organizational objective. So, everything is like oriented towards achieving your mission or the goals. Okay, so the controlling process is like setting the like understanding your plan, what are the mission or the vision that you want to objective you want to achieve. Okay, again you set the standards. Standard means what? Like for a particular project, all right, you want to complete it in 3 months. Now, the 3 months is decided on what basis? It is based on your scientific principles. We have understood it, discussed it, scientific principles. Now, the 3 month is your standard time for a particular project. If the department or the company or an employee is given the responsibility to complete the project within the time limit, if it is not, then there should be a corrective action need to be taken. All right. So, standard is like setting a benchmark. Now, we try to get the nature of the controlling process. Okay. We have got an understanding about the concept. We have seen the different definition as well. We have an idea that controlling is something that you measuring the performance, controlling the activity, setting the standards, using the resources efficiently for the purpose of achieving the organizational objective. This is what the like summary of the controlling we have just understood. Okay. Now, based on that, let us try to understand what are the different characteristics. Very first one is it is universal process, just like it is the function of the management, and management functions are universal in nature. Okay, like it is not like the business manager will only have the controlling process. Controlling process will be applied or it will be useful for all the companies or all the different element like the NGOs, like the governments, like your military organization, your aviation department, or any group where the employees are working together. Okay. So, it is universal process, it is forward looking. How it is forward looking? Just like the planning thing, okay, planning is also done for the future. Suppose you decided an activity, like we have taken one example, the implementation of AI program in your software. So the deadline you will be setting is like in the next 6 months, we will be changing the different codes of our software so that the AI can be implemented. So you will be setting the different things or activities for the different employees. So this is what your planning, this is your planning, okay. Or what is your objective? Objective is to implement the AI program in like 6 months duration. Now the controlling part is, after the 6 months you will be measuring the performance of each of the department, whether the IT department has performed well or not, whether the marketing department has created a demand for the software or not, okay, and so many other things. And ultimately you will be measuring their performances based on whether the standard they have achieved or not. Now the marketing department, for example, was given the target that before the product is to be launched, there should be a hype created in the market about the new technology which is coming, and pre-orders should be booked, and the target was decided at least 10,000 pre-orders should be booked by the different companies or the different consumers. So controlling wins, after 6 months they will be evaluated whether they have reached the 10,000 marks or not. If it is like they have reached the target, then it is okay, but they restricted themselves to only 6,000 pre-bookings. Then what the company will be doing? They will be firing the different sales personnel? No, they will be like reviewing where we have where the fault is, why we have not able to achieve the 10,000 target. Is there any kind of problem in the product itself? Is the competitor's product is more powerful than ours? There will be too many possibilities for that. So this is your controlling, like reviewing what actually happened, and based on that you will be redefining your project in the future, okay, because you know now why 10,000 marks has not been achieved. So you have an idea that because of these and these problems we were not able to achieve the 10,000 pre-bookings. So in the next project you will be taking into the consideration of all these factors, okay. That's why it is called as the future looking or the forward looking process, okay. Whatever the fault that you have done, you will be correcting it into the next project. Third one is influence process. It means like controlling is a mechanism that will bind the different element towards accomplishing the objective, okay. So it influences the behavior of the employees as well, okay. At the same time, whatever the processes that you are taking, process with respect to operational process, or it could be your supply chain process. So every aspect need to be reconsidered, or it will be checked properly under the controlling mechanism. Fourth one, it is a goal oriented. Ultimately, why you are doing all these things, why you are looking into the picture whether the standardized activity has been achieved or not. It is because you want that the organizational objective should be efficiently achieved. So every management function is oriented towards your goal or the objective. Next one, it is a continuous process. Just like whatever the loopholes that you have identified, like some department were not able to achieve the standardized things. Standardized things could be anything, okay, you kept the standard of the raw material that you will be purchasing from the supplier at 100 rupees per kg. But in actually, what happened? Because of change in any external factor, the raw material costed rupees 110. Were you able to meet your standards? No, because it has increased by 10%. Standard could be with respect to fixing the price of the product. Now, the price of the product you initially planned for was like rupees 250 per unit will be the maximum retail price for the consumers. All right. But actually, after the production process is over, the product price is now 310 rupees. Again, you missed your standard level. So, these are the benchmark or the standard I am talking about. So, any kind of loopholes that you identify, like why the supplier price has increased, why the product price has increased, okay, why the standard has not achieved. So, you will be taking these things into the next project. Just the things we have discussed in the second point. So, it is a continuous process, like whatever the problem or whatever the learning with your prior project will be like taking further towards your next project. It is a continuous process. Involves measurements. So, controlling is like we are having a controlling process for the purpose of measuring the performance of the different levels, employees, organization, departments, all right. So, measurement is like comparing with the standard ones than with the actual ones and measuring the any kind of deviation. Control is a system. Like you will see, controlling is not only done after the project is over. It could be like with the ongoing project, we will be discussing the type of the control. With the ongoing project, we also have the controlling mechanism. So, controlling is not a fragmented approach, it is an integrated approach. We used to have controlling process with all the function of the management, be it the planning, be it the like organizing, staffing, leading. Okay. So, controlling will be a integrated system to that it will be a supportive system towards all the management function. Taking one example, like you are dividing, like division of the work, one of the principles that we have learned, it is under the organizing, division of the work. Now, you will see that the all activity, whether these activities has been divided efficiently or not. One employee is getting maximum work and another employee is having ease of work. Then ultimately both the situations are not good. What the controlling mechanism will be like giving the equal work to all the levels of the managers. Okay. So, controlling is an integrated system aimed at result, not on people. As I have mentioned, like the sales people are not able to achieve the target. The like production department were not able to fix the price, or they are not able to meet the standards of the price of the product, because the price of the product ultimately it is exceeded by 20% when the product is launched. So, what the manager will be doing? Will they like fire all the employees because they were not able to meet the standards? Will it work? No. The point is the controlling process should be aimed at results, their objectives, and not on blaming the employees together. It may be the employees have done efficiently, they have done a wonderful job, still because of any change in the external factor. Okay. The employee were not able to like meet the standards, any kind of law being taken by the government, any change in the international environment will impact your business as well. So, controlling process should be aimed at how you can manage with that situation, so that any kind of problem should not be arrived at objective part. Okay. So, these were the nature or the characteristics of the controlling process. Next is the element of the controlling. Element means how the different controlling process are made of, okay, or what are the essential criteria or the different aspects of the controlling mechanism. Very first one is the planning itself. Now, in the later part of the discussion, we will be understanding the relationship between planning and controlling. Okay, like we can call it sometimes the twin sisters. The planning and the controlling are the twin sisters. Okay, before that, try to understand how planning is an important element of the controlling. Like for any project that we are undertaking, what is the very first thing that you will be deciding? It will be ultimately your objectives. Like take a hypothetical situation, like the company want to launch a new smartphone with very advanced camera. All right, that particular technology is not available in the market. So it is very big project, it will be very costly project. So what the company will be doing? The company will be planning the activity. Like objective is to sell out at least 50,000 of the smartphone in 6 months. This is the objective. All right. So planning will be in accordance with the your objective. Like you will be calling up the meeting, you will be deciding with the things with the IT department, whether these things are feasible or not to manufacture or to set up a high end camera smartphones. Again, you will be discussing the things with the marketing department, that whether the consumers, since the camera is very advanced, the product price will also go up. All right. So you will be discussing with the marketing and the sales team that whether they will be able to convince the consumer to buy a heavy price product. You will be discussing them with the competitors' perspective as well. Okay, so all these things are planning thing. After the project is over, okay, you have set the standard, like the standard was to sell at least 50,000 smartphone in 6 months. At the end of the project, you observed or you have seen that only 30,000 smartphones were sold. Now the role of the controlling will be there. Okay. Now the controlling mechanism will review where the problem lies. Is it because the product price was so heavy or the price was very high? Is it because the promotion has not been done efficiently? Is it because the consumer were not able to understand the feature of the camera? What are the main factors because of which the company were not able to sell 50,000 unit of the smartphone? Okay, so controlling and planning is goes hand on hand to understand what are the different objectives of the organization and how these objectives can be achieved through the controlling process. Based on the controlling mechanism, three main problem that you identified is that the consumers does not have knowledge about how to operate so high end camera is the very first problem. Second is with respect to the competitors. Competitors launch the smartphone because you are planning a new thing. It may be that your idea got leaked and the competitor launched the same smartphone in the same time duration with 10,000 less price, and because of which the consumer switched their purchasing decision towards the competitor's product. On the third could be your bulkiness of smartphone. It means because the technology is so high, the camera that you are using at the weight of the smartphones, and it is not like handy for the consumers to take the smartphone. So ultimately these factors were identified under the controlling mechanism. Now in the next project they will be like coming up with the new smartphone or the like facelift of that particular smartphone that will try to cater these problems identified under the controlling mechanism. So you will see that the planning and the controlling process is like goes hand in hand, and it cannot be separated like a different functions. Second is information feedback. Information feedback is with respect to like flow of information from the different levels. Okay, like to have a proper controlling mechanism, there should be a like transfer of information to all the departments. Like we have taken the example like to understand the problem what the consumer faced, go back to the very first example, the smartphone example. How you will be able to know that the consumer felt that the smartphone is very bulky? You have to reach out the consumers now, or you have to develop a mechanism through which you can get the data of what they feel or what are their perception about their brand. Okay, so information feedback is with respect to like getting the information from the different sources. Okay, third one is delegation of authority. Delegation of authority means like you are hiring a manager. For controlling mechanism, you need to like give authority to the different manager so that they can take the action. Corrective action need to take more authority as compared to any other activity, because you are like commanding over the behavior of other employees. For example, if an employee is not performing well and they are not able to meet the standards, you need to have the authority to influence their behavior. All right. So it is very important the manager should be getting the authority to control the activity of other subordinates. And last one is remedial action. So element of the controlling, most important aspect is how you are correcting your any kind of activity which is not standardized or which is not meeting the standards. All right. So you will be going for the root cause, like standards. In this example, what standard we have not achieved is the smartphone frequency, sales of the smartphones. We standard set was the 50,000, however you have only sold 30,000. So there is a deviation of 20,000. So why it happened is the most important aspect of the controlling. And remedial action could be like you can be lowering the price of the product, you can be more penetrating about reaching out to the target audiences. All right, like you could be coming up with new features that will like influence the consumers. All right, so remedial action is also very important element of the controlling, and if remedial action are not taken, there is no purpose for having the controlling mechanism. Okay. So in this particular module, we have thoroughly understand about the very basic concept about the controlling, what are the nature and what are the element of the controlling mechanism, and that's all for this session. And I give you some suggested books for the readings that will help you in learning more insights about the controlling mechanism. That's all for the day. Thank you so much.